Here's something I might not nail.
Okay.
Because the background of this is more complicated than I think can be summarized on this podcast. But there have been a bunch of protests in Serbia this year.
We all know about this, dude. Atriarch and I, this is what we do on Twitch every day.
Yeah, we're in Serbia.
What have you been doing?
You guys are streaming about the Serbian protests.
But why don't you provide in full detail?
There's just a full VOD of you two IRL streaming one of the protests. You're both in Belgrade. I didn't know about it. Gavin Newsom's there.
What do you think we do the other 6 days of the week, Aiden?
Yeah, do you think it's all we do?
Time.
We don't just do the yard in this, bro. We have real jobs and we cover Serbia.
You're right.
And
waltz around dancing with Ludwig. We do real work covering this
government protest
in Serbia.
In Belgrade. Yeah, I knew it.
Serbia is a country.
Serbia's a country. Yeah. So this is kind of part of a broader pattern of
Is this a Gen Z protest? Is this like a
Gen Z protest?
Dude, they need to get a new hobby. I'll say it.
They be protesting.
Like when it was 1 or 2, I was like, okay, Gen Z, that's cool.
Be shopping, and the Gen Z Serbians be protesting. What up with that?
What up with that?
Have the Serbian protesters been streaming themselves on whatnot?
That's
great.
Like they unbox the newest politician.
But I mean, is it a Gen Z protest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually is. Predominantly, at least.
Interesting.
So this is kind of part of a broader pattern of a bunch of countries in the southeastern part of Europe kind of having a series of protests, mostly over issues of like corruption or judicial independence being compromised, increasing authoritarianism and like attacks on the free speech and media. No, this is over the course of the whole year or the past couple years, really. This is not just Serbia, it's in like places like Slovakia, Greece, North Macedonia, and more. With Serbia specifically, I think we saw a lot of like random headlines about it over the year. And this started in November of 2024 in a city called Novi Sad, where a train station collapsed and killed 16 people after some renovations were done to it. In the wake of that accident, police and like local authorities were accused of corruption, mostly to do with like abuse of the state funds that were allotted for the project, the renovation project. This project had a lot of negligence, wasn't taken care of properly.
Similar to the tuna bonds. They're taking the government money and not.
I mean, weirdly enough, they used the money to like go fish for tuna, which was a whole mix-up. Not a lot of people touch on that.
The coast of Mozambique.
Wait, did Mozambique build a train with that corruption money?
It was actually a whole mix-up.
It was a mix-up.
Wait, we got the delivery address wrong.
Just a gleaming brand new train station in Mozambique. And
in the wake of this, there's a lot of public anger that starts to rise into like small gatherings and protests. I think like many of these situations, it's not just because one train station collapsed. It's because this is an inciting incident on a history of issues of corruption in the past. And the president of Serbia, President Vučić.
We all know that.
Come on, dude.
Who is still in charge. Apologies.
The sky is blue, guys. Yeah, President Vučić.
He's highly criticized and asked to step down over the course of these protests. In the wake of this train station collapsing, there's a local minister of construction or a lower level government official named Joran Vesic, who immediately in the wake of it just denies wrongdoing of having done anything wrong. And within a few days, people are so angry that it just steps down. He initially he denies that they approached this project incorrectly at all. And
Dude, the first thing you say when a train station collapses is, wasn't me.
He just hit the wasn't me. And over the year of 2025, these protests expand, increase in their frequency, and don't just happen in the city of Novi Sad. They happen in Belgrade and other cities around the country. And students are the primary base of people that are protesting in the country, with, interestingly enough, smaller pockets of pro-government groups trying to like counteract their protests at the same time. So it's like huge groups of students gathering, protesting, having altercations with police and the government, and then also pro-government groups like trying to come into the streets and like antagonize this group of student protesters.
We didn't need that train station anyway.
We didn't want the train station. We like the tuna. In May of 2025, this actually solidifies into some more concrete asks from the protest movement, which initially started with like, just release the documentation around this train station. We want people to be held accountable for this specific incident. But as the year goes on, there's all these increasing back and forth with police that result in incidents of police brutality. So people want justice for cases of that. People being imprisoned wrongly for protesting or like disagreements about whether or not they should be being arrested for protesting. And they want police to be held accountable for that. And they want snap elections to be held and the president to step down from power, Vučić.
Okay.
That's in May of 2025 when these more like concrete asks come together. And then in June, notably, some of these protests got really, really big, like some of the biggest in Serbian history. They
look pretty big.
In June, there was over 100,000 people gathered in a protest in Belgrade, with some reports saying like multiple hundreds of thousands of people. And these really large-scale protests have happened a few times over the course of the year. And Vučić is like holding strong in opposition to this, calling the protesters enemies of the country or terrorists, hitting the classics.
The classics.
He's been in power for
hard to do when it's getting above 100,000 people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like a band of
exactly. And he's been in power for 13 years now. I couldn't read anything about like suspicion of like election fraud or anything like that. The last time there was an election, which was I think 2 or 3 years ago before this, he won with 58% of the vote at the time. In August of this year, there was like an upscale in headlines and things because it was like a particularly violent month. And also video footage leaked of officers kicking and beating a man in the streets who was then assaulted further after they took him into custody as well. And there's also cases around in August of police like dragging people from buildings and shops and like those things being caught on tape and like rubber bullets being fired into crowds, specifically crowds of like younger students below the age of 18, people who are like 15, 16. This is kind of invigorating the movement of protesters, switching away from something that's focused primarily on this state of corruption and the specifics of this funding around the train station and more towards being like anti-police brutality. Like, how dare you inflict this pain on the people when they're trying to hold you accountable for your actions.
I should get the guy out of power too. It's like the big movement.
And the ultimate ask is they want him to step down. And the only thing that the Serbian government has given in return is
rubber bullets.
A few rubber bullets. That at the end,
you get to keep them.
A few. And a few more smaller officials stepping down from power over the year, but not the actual president or anybody who
throwing under the bus.
Nobody who actually matters, And the year anniversary of the train collapse just happened, and 110,000 people gathered in Novi Sad to commemorate the incident.
Wow.
So there's still a huge energy behind the movement, at least. It seems like from like that being just month. But the significant change that this movement is looking for doesn't really seem to be happening. Yeah. Like their core asks are not really being met. The most that they've gotten in regards to like the train station is like some documents being released and not the accountability from like the police.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like this is an ongoing thing, right? Like if 100,000 people are showing up to protest.
Exactly. So this is the update. This is like the update through the year to this point. Basically.
Yeah.
Super overall summary. I'm going to be missing a ton of stuff. There's a lot of like history behind this from what I could read. But we're entering next year with like an invigorated base of young people, especially who hate the president in power and want the government to be dramatically changed somehow without necessarily a specific set of asks beyond hold elections again and let us try to get new people into power.
No, it's interesting. I did not know, that was going on in Europe in the same way. That's very similar to all the Gen Z elections sweeping Africa and Southeast Asia. And I didn't know it reached countries like Serbia.
There are many protests this year.
I think a really
like a year
similar
of protests, it feels like.
Yeah.
A really similar incident I saw was the North Macedonia one where there was a nightclub that like caught on fire and a lot of people died in that. And in the wake of that, in the same way this train station did, huge like youth reaction. The state of our country and the state of the government allowing it to get to this point is a failure.
It feels like this is the year with the most like protest and anti-government stuff globally in maybe our lifetime, excluding COVID, which is obviously a strange anomaly. At least, or let me rephrase that, in our adult lifetime. Like I just don't remember like this scale of stuff. Like the entire world is like pretty
in terms
pissed.
Of successful, you know what I'm saying? Like
even just in general. I mean, there's just so many protests happening, it feels like.
I think if you can illuminate more context, like if you happen to be Serbian or just happen to know more about it because of a personal connection or something, or maybe you studied abroad there, something like that.
Or Nepalese or Indonesian, like all the places where these things are really, really kicking off.
If you can contextualize it beyond like the articles that we get to read, I think it'd be really, really helpful. because I know there's always underlying dynamics to these things that are really hard to peel from just like reading stuff online. Because this is a really overhead view of something that seems to have a really, really deep ties of like dissatisfaction among a lot of people there. I think that's also why, like when I was reading through this, it's why the demands, especially as if you looked at the demands over the course of the year, actually felt pretty inconsistent or unclear beyond the train incident that started.
Well, yeah, when it's a mass youth movement organized by social media, like that, the fact that they can get a coherent demand at all is pretty difficult. Same thing with all the one, like the one in Nepal. Like the fact that they were able to get one clear demand of like, we're going to hold elections and have this interim prime minister, it's like an amazing achievement because, you know, I went in that Discord and saw half of it is people shit posting, like memes. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like thousands of young people, all with varying degrees of knowledge and participation, you know, so I think that's as much as you can expect. I do wonder though, because obviously there's rising youth discontent that's mobilizing a lot of this, but some of it has got to be this Venn diagram of social media. Like all of it's hitting at once to make this stuff more possible. I got to imagine.
Yeah, I think so. One note on that is that the slogan, there's seems to be some consistency in slogan use or like motivation behind these protests. Like there's a reason that this region of Europe is seeing a surge in this activity at the same time is because when you see like notable protests from your neighbors around like similar issues you seem to be facing. There's a very direct inspiration. So I don't think
and then more than any other time in history, it's like it's not just your name. I mean, it's even around the world, right? You see what's happening in Nepal, and even if you're in Europe, you're inspired because you're seeing what's happening in Nepal for the first time. Like that wasn't a thing 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I Googled it. Yeah, they are showing the One Piece flag in some student protests in Serbia.
Nice.
Any more thing? I have one more thing to talk about.
Okay, two more is funny.